This week on the show, we're breaking format to talk about our favorite resurrections because it's Easter on this week's episode of Nerd Here Weekly. Bruno, do the thing.
We're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
This better not awaken anything in me.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
We have Santa Claus. Assemble.
Welcome to Nerd Here Weekly, a podcast about the week's biggest stories in nerdy news that this week is taking a step back to honor a holiday, an important day that a lot of people look forward to around the calendar, and look forward to setting aside time with other people, with friends or chosen family to connect. This is a day that for a lot of people has a unique atmosphere to the day. Preparations are made with special items that you might share with other people. And it's a welcome moment for people to just sort of unwind and enjoy the company of others. And sort of in that vein of celebrating the holiday, Easter, we are going to set aside some time. We're not going to worry about the news this week. We are going to break format. We're kind of doing a nerd off thing. We are discussing our favorite pop culture resurrections, which was definitely not a topic that I sent out to you guys this morning and was like, hey, just prep this instead. I know you're ready to do the news, but let's do this instead.
No, what are you talking about?
This seems, no, we're way more professional than that. So we went through and we all picked, well, how we're going to do this is we've each picked a resurrection from pop culture. I think we're all sort of in the movies, comics, TV realm.
Our usual wheelhouse.
Yeah, right.
You spent a couple of ideas, and I did enjoy the idea of talking about Mario's existential dread of his existence. When you consider that their one-ups are real. We
should talk about it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, we should talk about it. So yeah, we've all picked a character sort of from the usual oeuvre to talk. My point is I don't think there's going to be anybody that will throw anyone for a loop or whatever. We've all picked our favorite resurrection, and we're all going to go around and talk about why we picked this one and why we think it is. I don't know how you quantify. I was thinking about this on the drive home today. I was trying to think, how do you decide what best means in terms of coming back from the dead?
Whichever one would be is easiest to build a religion out of, I think, is the metric. Oh, okay.
That does make sense. But I guess maybe each of us can make the argument for ourselves when it's our turn, what we think matches the prompt. We'll figure it out. It's a loose thing. Like I said, we're not really doing a lot. But because there's only 3 of us and we didn't want to leave out ones that we thought would be fun to talk about, we were really quickly going to run. I had pre-picked some, just sort of if we're trying to pick the best one, I guess these are all runners up, right? They didn't Sure. They're also rans. They're out there. They're interesting to consider, but we don't think they really rank among the highest up. And to start out, because it's Easter, I thought we should recognize the GOAT in this category, the big Jeebus himself, son of God, the Christ, the Son of God, and
from the religion,
right? So I was trying to think,
and also the Passion of the Christ.
Well, so I was trying to think,
the Big Lebowski.
I was trying. Don't fuck with the Jesus.
Been in a lot of movies.
I was trying to think, what are the good representations of the resurrection, capital R, in pop culture? Because Passions you bring up, Jack, but that's just the cross, right? To my memory, that doesn't. That's why
he's working on the sequel.
That's why we're getting the sequel, right? Yeah. Can you guys think of anything?
Dying to know what happens.
There was that religious. It was a film.
They made a movie called Risen a few years ago.
Is that what it was?
With,
yes.
Ray Fiennes' brother from Shakespeare in Love.
Yes.
Is the Roman guard or whatever.
So it was a 2016 biblical drama. Directed by Kevin Reynolds and written by Reynolds and Paul Aleo. I don't recognize either of those guys. But yeah, like you say, stars Joseph Fiennes. Peter Firth's in it.
There's gonna be King of Kings, your favorite new animated movie, Riley.
Yeah, I think that just came out, right?
I'm sure that'll get into it.
We saw the ad for this at What were we
You
seeing?
and I first saw it at Looney Tunes.
At Looney Tunes. We went to go see the Looney Tunes movie, Deepak. The
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Right.
Yeah.
Day the Earth Blew Up. And the ads before that were a real dynamic situation.
No, we were talking about this. Yeah, they just couldn't figure out what to put in front of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the ads we saw before the Looney Tunes movie was an ad for a bad CGI. I'll say bad, right? Not good looking.
I'll say it.
Not good
Well,
looking.
they had to find
pretty
a
rough.
Christian
It
studio
looks
to
low
do
budget.
it.
It was a low budget CGI picture about. Here's an iconic pitch for a movie for you. Do you remember that time that Charles Dickens was disappointed in his son's rowdy behavior backstage at a play? So he took him home and sat him down and told him the story of the crucifixion.
Of the Christ.
No.
Well, it's a real thing that happened, and now
Well,
there's a
what
movie
happened?
about it
Oh.
for children. And it was
So that they can learn about the Christ.
What was the movie that we were talking about a few years ago? We did like a bit on it. It was all the donkeys and stuff when Jesus was born.
Yeah, what was that thing called?
Star.
What?
Do you not remember this, Jack?
Yeah, it was a real movie.
It's an animated children's film.
I think it's
That's
like
like
something
the
with the
Secret Life
star.
of Pets, but with the animals in the menagerie.
It's about like the horses that the three wise men ride to meet Jesus or something like that. It's some.
The Star from
It was called
2017.
The Star.
That's the one. That's the one.
Huh.
No, this is weirder than that. The Star, because
Oh, it
and
made
the
$40 million.
Star. Well, listen.
Because we talked about it.
We're tastemakers. There's a built-in audience for these things, and you can find all these stories about how churches will buy up tickets or whatever. And this thing is weird because you don't like if you want to tell this story, you don't need the Charles Dickens part of this story. Like that doesn't add
Right.
anything narratively.
Right. No, that's what.
Is that how
upsets
they
Riley
think
the
they'll
most
open it
about
up to the non-Christian
Right.
audience?
Right? Is that maybe the hook?
Come for Charles Dickens, stay for Jesus.
Yeah. Anyway, it confused the hell out of me when we saw the trailer for it before Looney Tunes.
We are off topic though.
Really just threw me for a loop. Well, no, we're not that off topic because that was my point. Was
We are
I was
talking about the Big G.
We're talking about, the Tom Brady of being resurrected, Jesus Christ. And I wanted to, it felt weird because all the other things we're going to be talking about I'm going to be like,
Obvious riffs on this story.
well, not even that. It's like Neo from the Matrix, right? Like
My favorite resurrection.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to say Jesus in, what was that?
Superman.
No, what was that thing called? The whole point of this tangent was that I
Oh,
had to
the King of Kings.
No, I had to figure out what that
The Star.
The Star.
Risen.
the Roman centurion has to do.
Pontius Pilate.
He has to figure out where the hell Jesus went.
The Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh my God, we just talked about it. You brought it up.
What the Star? I don't know. I brought up like 15 things just now.
This Roman finds that Jesus is gone, and they're like, "Where the hell did he go?" And he has to like run around town. It's
Risen. That's what
risen,
I said.
Risen. Anyway, that was my whole point. Is I wanted to be able to be like Jesus from Risen, and not like Jesus from the Bible. Like that felt weird. So I
Yeah,
wanted
sure.
to have. So sorry, that was the point of the tangent. Was so Jesus as depicted in the film Risen. That's sort of our the leader in the category. I feel like, right?
Mm-hmm. The one to beat.
Incontrovertibly. All right. So now that that's out of the way, and elegantly, might I add, well handled by me.
Yes.
Let-
We nailed it.
Let's talk about some others. So, a straight 1-to-1, as Jack pointed out, we have Neo from the Matrix. A fun one, textually important, kind of gets weirdly undone by a late stage legacy reboot. A lot of the hallmarks of the brand, if you ask me.
Mhm.
How do we feel about Neo being resurrected?
He's resurrected in the first movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's still the best Matrix movie.
Yeah.
And then he's alive through 2, and then almost to the end of 3, he basically is sacrificed in order to save humanity. And then, of course, he is brought back infamously in the Matrix Resurrections.
Mm-hmm.
YMMV, your mileage may vary.
What do you
The
think of
first
those?
resurrection, I think, works. I think it works fine. There's also a question of whether or not it's really a resurrection, because the whole mythos of the Matrix is that there are like multiple versions of
Well,
the One and Neo and all that. So
at the time it happened,
yeah,
we certainly all would have classified it that way.
in the first one, yeah. In the fourth one, I don't know.
Have you seen the fourth one?
I have it right here.
Oh, excellent. There was a glare. I couldn't really see what it was you were holding up. I just
Yeah,
They-
it's
they
in
do look a
it's in
little
one of those
similar.
plastic shell things, but yeah.
Oh, I see.
Steelbook.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Good looking.
Yeah, I mean, what's there to say? It's a classic, like you say. It follows the formula pretty to a T, but I like it because he's a programmer, so it makes me think that maybe I'll get to live again, which is nice.
Yeah. Jack, you wanted to talk about Mario and sort of the out
I
there
mean, yeah, I
consequences
just
of
thought
that
it was
contemplation.
a horrifying thing to consider, that maybe he like remembers the deaths every time.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess it's a fair point that he does accrue a resource that he uses to revive himself on a regular basis. So I just never really thought of it from that perspective. Do you think, like, when he falls into a bottomless pit, do you think he hits the bottom and then that's when he gets regenerated, or does he just have to wait to fall for long enough? I don't know. I have a lot of questions.
I didn't mean to bring him up right after Neo like that. But it does sort of shift your focus in a way where you're like, okay, so if Mario is sort of, what if he's in the Matrix in a way,
Right.
right? Where like,
Well, in
he doesn't have
some of
to,
the
like-
games, it's like clearly a theater stage, and he like goes off backstage, which is sort of like an old timey program.
and Deepak, you just finished Mario Odyssey, right? In Mario Odyssey, he's defying like laws of physics and nature, right? Like becoming two-dimensional
Well, yeah,
and then
you can
resuming
scroll
his
up.
three-dimensional
Also, no
form.
one has died more times as Mario than I have while playing Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh yeah, was that a rough one?
It was yeah. I'm so unpracticed in video gaming that one of the side missions alone, I almost gave up. I just couldn't do it. Yeah, he's defying everything. He goes to the moon without wearing like a mask of any kind, and he's bouncing in 0G and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And he's you can throw your hat onto these like electrical wires and travel through those electrical wires by just being a hat. It's very strange. It's a good game though.
I mean, it's one of the more logical explanations for sure.
And I
Mhm.
don't mean to co-sign. I feel like this is a dumb thing people do where they'll be like, well, let's really like give a hard, serious consideration to something that's clearly silly. But it is just,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's just all how quickly you spin out after you're like, well, okay. It is a good point, right? That he picks up the one-ups. They're a thing he collects. Therefore, is death a thing he experiences in many different forms? Yeah, leads you to horrifying.
Yeah, I think as
consideration.
far as how horrifying his like existential situation is, he's going to be up there on this list. But I'm willing to hear out any others.
Here's one of the all-time greats. And then maybe we'll move on to each of the ones that we had to consider and sort of give them longer, more due consideration. But we couldn't give this topic its proper due without bringing up Mr. Jason Todd,
Oh, sure.
who of
Yeah.
course was killed by the Joker after a poll by the public. The
The public decided to execute him.
comic reading industry said this teenager needs to go, give him the old axe, and the Joker terrifyingly
Was happy to oblige.
yeah, smashed a big old crowbar.
Sometimes
into the
played
boy's
by
head.
Mark Hamill, one time by John DiMaggio. That was cool.
And then decades later, the return of Jason Todd unexpectedly and actually Hush 2 happening now in a DC comic shop, in a DC comic in a shop near you. Go check it out. But in the Hush run that is now very famous, and then sort of later on, there's a whole explanation about why Hush doesn't really count. I think it's Clayface in Hush technically. And then later on, from Under the Red Hood is the story that actually gives Jason Todd his proper reveal. But anyway, he comes back. He's been Lazarus pitted back to life.
Spoilers.
And and yeah, was sort of always considered one of those like a Uncle Ben style guy who was just always going to be dead, right? And then he came back. And,
Yeah, well, and it's crazy, like you mentioned briefly, but like that it could have gone either way, and now it's just like this permanent part of the fiction that this kid gets murdered.
but he was dead for right. Deepak, have you seen any of the like animated movie adaptations of this or any
Yeah,
of
I
the
have
out
it.
of fiction
I
things?
have it on my shelf, but it's too far out of reach for me to go grab it. Under the Red Hood is great. I've read, of course, Death in the Family. I know they made an animated version of that, but I haven't seen it. Uh, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. The other one that I like is Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker,
Mm-hmm.
where we find out that we thought the Joker was dead. The Joker has come back now years later. It's now on Terry McGinnis to fight the Joker because Batman is old, Bruce Wayne is
Mm-hmm.
old. We of course find out that this is not the same Joker. This is Jason Todd, who has been sort of brainwashed and has now become the Joker effectively. And of course, how does Batman and Terry deal with that? So that's another really good kind of spin on that story.
He is so, yeah, and it is, to your point, Jack, I think so incredible that Jason Todd as a character has become defined by his deadness, right? When that was basically a flip of a coin. I read a thing once. I don't know how much, I've never fact checked this myself, but I read an article somewhere that it was one guy basically. That like one guy set up a looping phone call to just like call the kill line like over and over and over, and he made like 1,000 like he made more calls than the margin.
Nerd.
So it was basically that guy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's great. It's a huge. It's a good bit of character for the Batman, and it makes him stand out as one of the Robins as well. To define him a little bit more from the admittedly many people who have had the title.
Yeah. Now, I did want to just mention, and this was sort of part of my point about being like crazy how identified Jason Todd is with being dead. I did want to fact check this before I said anything, but Deepak, it is Tim Drake in Return of the Joker.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. I doubted it when I said it, but I said it anyway.
Well, because weirdly, Jason Todd doesn't exist in like any of the animated stuff. Like any of the actual like universe continuity. They'll do the one-off movies or whatever where they're like, here's Under the Red Hood. But like in the Batman, Superman, Justice League, Batman Beyond, like that universe, I can't think of, it's escaping me right now what we call it.
The Bruce Timm or
the Bruce
Not
Timm.
Bruce Timm.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. The Paul Dany.
I think Death in the Family had already happened by then.
I think he was dead. I think he was dead and he hadn't brought him back.
Yeah.
And so they just were like, we're not going to discuss the unlike our good buddy Zach, we're not going to needlessly discuss the death of a child on this TV show. So we'll just pretend like it, we'll ignore it completely. Okay, with all that, let's get into each of our picks for Best Resurrection. Jackson, do you want to kick us off? You've got a great one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly one of the first ones I thought of. I was glad I could grab it. Spoilers for a movie that's as old as I am. It's Gandalf.
Really just
from
offensive.
The Lord of the Rings.
Sorry. A really offensive thing for you to say.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Really upsetting thing for you to say. Pretty rude, actually.
He's actually like 3 years younger than me, if that helps. Yeah. But,
No, I really, really appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Gandalf, he dies famously in a fight with a Balrog in Khazad-dûm. And tells them to fly on the eagles and everything. And then comes back to everyone's surprise as Gandalf the White. He's got a thick new threads. He's like way more powerful. He has these really cool lines where he like talks about being dead as if he just totally forgot about all of his time in the real world. And then they're like, you're Gandalf. And he's like, oh yes, that's what they called me.
Gandalf.
I love everything about his character, and I think all of the cool parts about him get cooler after he dies.
And this is, remember, if we want to get into continuity, this is the thing I never see discussed when people talk about Lord of the Rings stuff. And I don't understand why, because it's like, for me, it's Tom Bombadil level insane that it gets left out of the movies. Which is...
The movies do this interesting thing of like making it basically feel like he leveled up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's how the book really explains it at all. The movies have to make it somewhat palatable to the people who don't know Tom Bombadil and the weirdness of Tolkien. So it's like, I fought the Balrog and the White Wizard was bad, so we had to balance the stakes and make me good now.
Well, but so yeah, right. No, I don't think it reads like that in the books. But in the books, Saruman has already declared himself to be Saruman of the many colors.
Of many colors.
Mm.
And which is like a dereliction of duty thing. So Gandalf gets sent
it's
back.
like usurping the authority of God.
And so in the scene and this is in the movie, in Fanghorn, when they are all when our trio there of name a more iconic trio real quick, can you? Those three are good.
No, that's right. You can't.
Those three are up there. Anyway, they're there and they think he's Saruman, and he says Saruman as he should have been. And that's sort of like the allusion to sort of replacing him in the balance of nature thing, which is less about I'm now the good guy version of him and more about like this is, these guys are sent down. Sorry, Jack, am I eating your whole thing?
No, please. I would have said all this stuff anyway.
This is your bag, man.
These guys are all sent down from
Eru?
I'm going to cut myself off there. I just meant to say I never see anybody talk about the Saruman of many colors thing.
Yeah.
That was my whole point.
My roommate in college was all about that. And there's like, they even do some stuff in the movie where there are like shots when he's walking through the woods talking with Gandalf, and there's like a bunch of prismatic colors on his robe. But I do think that, one of the things that always stands out to me is how these pieces of media treat dying and coming back to life. I was also thinking about doing Jon Snow, and one of my biggest complaints about in the show resurrection and in the books probable resurrection of Jon Snow is that like in the show anyway, it's like not a very impactful experience on him as a character. He feels very similar to how he did before he dies. And I think what's cool about Gandalf, and what I would hope would be cool when George writes Winds of Winter.
Big when you just dropped there after this week's news.
Is that I think this sort of experience should be really impactful to a character and like change how they act, and that it should be noticeable that they went through this sort of thing. And so I've always really liked how The Lord of the Rings handles it from that perspective.
Do you think he gets put in the wolf?
John?
Yeah.
I think it's quite likely.
I was sort of looking forward to that in the show. And there were other like sort of lore reasons scattered throughout the book why I was hoping that would pay off. And then the fact that
sorry, if we're going to just talk about it, you are talking about in the, again, spoilers.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be listening to this if you care about spoilers. At the end of the last Game of Thrones book, basically ends the last scene with our main character, Jon Snow, getting murdered. And a lot of people think, for various lore reasons, that he's going to get brought back to life. This happens in the TV show. But there's also this type of magic in the books. It's all about like transplanting your mind into the mind of an animal. So a lot of people think that while he's dead, the reason he's going to be able to come back to life, he's going to put his brain in a wolf. And then later, once the body is healed, he'll bring his brain back somehow.
Isn't that what Bran does? What do they call that? Drifting or something?
They call it
Warging.
green seeing. And yeah, Bran does it all the time when he's like asleep, and sometimes even with like not animals.
Which you're not
John,
supposed to.
Hodor.
No, that's very frowned upon. John, I don't think he does it ever consciously. A lot of characters do it like when they're dreaming. Like they just think that they dream about being a wolf and they don't realize that there's a magic thing going on.
Mm.
Or possibly when you're getting murdered as like a defense mechanism. Who knows?
So with that theory comes an additional theory, which is that if John were to spend time in a wolf's body while his physical body sort of healed, and then if he had to figure out how to use this sort of easily goof-upable magic to get back into his own body, is there a possibility or even a probability that he would like come back wrong, right? And so I wanted to use that as a segue to talk about the trope of coming back wrong, which is like a thing that I think is out there in a lot of fiction. Do you guys have any big favorites in terms of like guys who came back wrong?
Well, Superman.
Superman's a big one.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Tell me about him, D-Back.
Oh, in the definitive adaptation, which is the Justice League movie,
Yeah, right.
He comes back not remembering that he's Superman for reasons that are never made entirely clear. And he starts attacking the Justice League, and we get the famous Kal-El no, said with about as much passion as I just did. And yeah, but then all he needs is the touch of a good woman to remind him of who he is, and he's back to normal.
In the comics, after Superman dies, in the iconic and broadcast on CNN worthy death of Superman. But as Deepak said, clearly not the definitive version of that story by any stretch of the imagination. After that happens, guys coming back wrong in comics becomes very popular. We already talked about Jason Todd comes back wrong. We haven't talked about it, but we sort of have just through the Jason Todd discussion. Our guy Bucky comes back wrong. In the form of the Winter Soldier. Hal Jordan, I don't know if you guys know this. I doubt this is a thing that ends up in the James Gunn verse, but Hal Jordan died for a while and became the Spectre, and then became Parallax after that, and then became the Green Lantern again.
That's less spooky. That's just a thing that happened.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
interesting.
But so he was he came back wrong, and then there's in the Blackest Night event that Jeff Johns wrote, the Green Lantern one. Elongated Man comes back as a Black Lantern, which is sort of a comeback wrong because those are resurrections or not. Those are more zombies. Do zombies count as resurrections?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Anyway,
ask Ryan Coogler.
Jack, you got a comeback wrong you love?
No, I think my pick would probably be Jon Snow, to be honest. Because well, just to drive it home, there is a lot of evidence that, like, when you do put your brain into one of these creatures, that, especially with Bran, we hear a lot about, like, if you get too lost in it, you can just be like an animal forever.
And Bran's supposed to be like super good at it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like he's not a good barometer for how Jon might fare.
Yeah, well, and he's been, like, trained in how to do it and stuff.
Yeah.
And, just broadly, like, the themes of Game of Thrones are out of George's own mouth. A lot of it is about sort of taking high fantasy themes that you see in things like Lord of the Rings and sort of corrupting them. So I think you would look at, for example, the resurrection of Gandalf and think about, like, well, what if this was, like, a little more creepy and fucked up?
Yeah, right.
But of course, that one hasn't actually happened in that way yet. So it's optimistic to say the least.
Did you have anything, before we moved on to Deepak stuff, did you have anything you wanted to say about George's most recent blog post making the news?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's true. I don't doubt that he wishes he didn't have to write The Winds of Winter. But he did say that it is, like, the bane of his existence or something. To have to
the
finish
curse
that
of his
book.
life.
The curse of his life to have to finish the book series that he started, which, fair enough. I guess that's true. But I still hope he does.
But, like, okay.
I mean, there's no way it can possibly live up to it. It's like if Dre released the Chronic now after 30 years or whatever.
And that's probably how he feels. He probably feels that every day.
Right.
At the same time, the people who love this story have made George a very, very, very wealthy man. Much, much richer than most of his contemporaries in the original fantasy fiction sci-fi series space, right? When he started his career as a guy writing like hard fantasy novels in the 80s, I don't think he ever could have imagined this level of success. And most of that is off the back of this series. At a certain point, I would feel like I owed it to somebody.
Sure.
But maybe that's not how George feels.
Well, you want to have it be of a certain level of quality.
Yeah,
or
right. Maybe
something.
he just feels locked up by the expectations.
Do you think he has writer's block? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Well,
Oh, that's what he said?
Sure.
I mean, I think his quote on this for, like, Jack, 7 years has been,
God, at least.
I'm working on it.
The last one was in 2011.
It was supposed to come out 13 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
not going to happen because then there's still one more after this, right?
Yep.
So,
Dream of Spring comes out after Winds of
and
Winter.
he's in his 70s,
Mm-hmm.
like well into his 70s.
And not like
He's 76.
the leanest
Yeah.
dude in the world. Listen, we stand an icon. I hope I look that good when I'm his age. Doesn't read as a guy who is hitting the treadmill every day.
Or any day.
Don't mean to be disrespectful. I'm just saying, like, that has an impact on his life expectation. Yeah, I don't think this book's coming. Anyway, Deepak, what's your pick for Best Resurrection?
My pick for Resurrection is a character who has died and come back from the dead numerous times over the span of 70 plus years. He's my good friend who joins me on the podcast today. It's Godzilla.
Go, go, Godzilla.
He's
I
the
guess
big boy.
this is fair.
Explain
He does
this pick
die.
to me. I didn't want to say no when you sent it to me, but I do. I'm not sure I'm going, oh, yeah, of course.
So to help back me up, I have gone to the source of all knowledge, reddit.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the R Godzilla subreddit, there's a commenter who is flared as a top 1% commenter
Okay.
on the topic of how many times has Godzilla died. Movies ending with Godzilla absolutely dead, with no hints of survival and no sequels that undo his death. There's the original 1954 Godzilla. There's Godzilla versus Destroyer. And there's, of course, everyone's favorite, the 98 Godzilla from Sony. There are movies that end with Godzilla dead, with no hints of survival, but his death is undone by a sequel. I just watched this movie the other day, and I am a little, I contest this one. He says it's Godzilla Raids Again. Godzilla Raids Again, they do say very explicitly it is another Godzilla. So take that for what it's worth.
Okay. Okay.
So the original may have died, and then this one, he's a different one.
That's
Anyway.
a good death trope, by the way. We're talking about dying and coming back to life. Oh, no, that was another guy that looked just like me is a good one when they deploy that correctly.
Somehow
Miles loves that
Gojira
one.
returned.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have 6 movies where Godzilla dies at some
Lost
point,
this,
but is
lost
shown
that.
or hinted to either live by the end or he comes back within the same movie. So we have the Return of Godzilla, which is also Godzilla 1984, 1985. We have Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2. We have Godzilla versus Mechaguirus. We have Giant Monsters All Out Attack. And Godzilla King of the Monsters, which of course he dies from the oxygen bomb halfway through the movie. Ghidorah becomes the alpha, but then Godzilla comes back because Serizawa detonates a nuke in front of him and sacrifices himself.
Sorry.
And then everyone's favorite Godzilla movie that just came out, Godzilla -1.
Can
He
you-
is hinted to still be alive at the end.
Can you just do a quieter, slower version of that and just send it to me in like my notes?
Yeah, I can do that.
That's just going to be my ASMR sleep podcast from now on. It's just Deepak,
Yeah.
Deepak reading the list of gods. When you said something about the way you said Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, just I felt my spine relax. I was like, yeah, that's correct.
Okay, yeah, I'll read
That's
through the whole
correct.
Wikipedia
Godzilla
page if you
versus Mechagodzilla 2 is absolutely right. Yeah, okay, fine. I think you've established your bona fides in this category. He sounds like he's died and come back to life.
Yeah,
Do any,
I mean, even if you only follow,
do any of those really jump out at you, or you just
I
always
mean,
looking for an
the-
excuse to talk Godzilla?
yeah, I'm always looking for an excuse. The one that I think, the one that immediately came to mind was Godzilla King of the Monsters, because either that's so recent or whatever, but he doesn't, I think, die. He is severely weakened to the point that they need to feed him nuclear energy to
You're saying when they
resuscitate
take him. Sorry,
Why did they do
Sorry.
that?
I don't. We should be saying all of this. You're not saying some of the most fun stuff. I recognize I just made that joke about you doing ASMR Godzilla bullshit, but you should be saying when they take him to Atlantis
Yeah,
to detonate a nuclear weapon
that's what I
to
said.
bring him back to life.
Mhm.
Yes, that's the part
But
of the movie you're
listen,
talking
but
about. Right, yeah.
my dispute is that I'm not sure he actually dies.
Not sure
I think
actually,
the
yeah.
implication
He
is
might just
that
be deeply
he
wounded.
would die. Yeah.
He was in a coma.
Got it.
Right.
That's fair. Until we
Because
blew
there's
up
heavy
with a
eye
nuclear
contact
bomb
between
at
him and
Atlantis.
Ken Watanabe before that nuke goes off. But my boy has died several times. He comes back bigger and stronger than ever. He does, of course, go thermonuclear at the end with the help of Mothra and defeat Ghidorah and level Boston in the process, which is a lot of fun. Godzilla -1, of course, he dies, but at the very end, we see the disembodied head in the water open its eyes again.
Bum, bum,
We know now
bum.
that I can't remember the director's name. Is it Yamazaki?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Can
but the
you-
Godzilla Minus One director has confirmed that his next movie will be a direct sequel, so we know he's coming back.
Is that disappointing?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I guess
Because
with
Matt, it'll just
unfortunately,
be
we
like
know
a
now
drama
from
piece.
Toho they don't allow Godzilla to die.
which is fine. That
He's like The Rock in that way.
I sort of felt like part of the reason why Godzilla Minus One was so good was that
They win in the end.
it leads straight into Godzilla. Like you watch that back to back with the original movie, and it's like one
sure.
like I always sort of took that to be the meaning of the title of the film
No,
was that it's a prequel.
no. It doesn't. I don't think
Well,
it leads
first
into
we have
the
to get to
original.
Godzilla 0,
Well, maybe that's
So, yeah, so-
maybe that's
then
what
we
they
do
did,
Godzilla
yeah.
1.
Maybe that's what they did.
Yeah.
But I always felt like it sort of led straight in that I just imagine the little head at sinking down in the ocean just sort of become Godzilla and then come out of the water at the beginning of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just sort of do the whole thing again. But now they like know what Godzilla is, which is the whole thing in this one is they're trying to figure
Right.
out.
Well, in the original, they know too. He's like, they would
Well, that's what I'm saying.
send young girls out into the water to
Yeah.
sacrifice themselves to him and things like
They
that.
know
Yeah.
everything from this movie that we've already seen. Part of why I think it works so well. And then in the original, they're like, oh, I know Godzilla. I've seen Godzilla before.
Mhm.
But in Minus One, when he attacks Tokyo proper, because that's the other thing I think that movie does really well is phase up the levels of Godzilla attack we deal with, right? Where it goes from like like Godzilla V1 to Godzilla V Small Village to Godzilla V City.
Mhm.
But my point was just when he gets to Tokyo in that one, they're like, what is this thing? And then I feel like,
Right.
So anyway, yeah.
Can't help but notice you haven't mentioned one Shin Godzilla. What's going on
Because
there?
that's kind of a one-off at this point, right? He's not
Oh, yeah.
dead. He's just been neutralized at the end of it. Spoiler alert. There's really no way to kill Shin Godzilla.
Sort of the notion of that movie, right? That one's so
Mhm.
good. Jack, have you seen Shin Godzilla?
Sure, of course.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yes. That one I thought was really cool. The way it handled like the form of
It's the one by
Godzilla.
the Evangelion director.
Yeah, and like every time he dies, he comes back to life in a different like crazy shape or
He
whatever.
just keeps evolving.
Yeah, he starts as like a slug.
He starts out like a slug.
Yeah. That's cool. That's good stuff. Do that more.
He's also, I think, the strongest Godzilla. Just whatever he's able to do with
In
his
the
like
Godzilla
purple laser beams.
Tournament match.
Oh,
That would
yeah.
be good.
That'd be good.
I think he's the most powerful.
We need to remind Bruno that that's next March Madness for us is just 16 Godzillas.
Godzillas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good. That's an incredible idea.
Yeah. It's my boy.
Any other big lizard stuff you want to call out before we move on?
No.
Okay.
That's it. We covered him.
Great. Done and dusted. Moving on. So Bruno, who unfortunately couldn't be here because of scheduling conflicts around the holiday, etc. As we
It is
mentioned
actually
earlier.
Easter.
It's Easter. We were doing a silly bit earlier, but it is. Hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but it is Easter, and it is also the 20th of April, which is the Stoner holiday.
Which is funny.
So it was funny those two seemingly disparate things were on the same day. So we made a little joke about it at the beginning of the show. I don't know if you remember. We worked really hard on it. We hope you liked it. Bruno was going to talk about the Superior Spider-Man, which is when Doc Ock is dying and like with his final breath kicks off a scheme he has engineered to swap bodies with Peter Parker.
I remember this. This is crazy.
And then Peter Parker dies and Doc Ock is in Peter Parker or in Spider-Man's body. And Doc Ock
Like
is
being
just
the Spider-Man.
Yeah, Doc Ock is just Spider-Man for like a couple years. And then I don't remember what happened, but somehow Peter is brought back from there's like a
Somehow
like,
Peter returns.
Is this when Spider-Man has the tentacles?
yeah, that's part of that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 1% Peter brain left in the brain or whatever, and it gets like sucked out by some like Jean Grey or somebody finds it and sucks it out, and yeah, somehow
As she does.
somehow Peter comes back. Anyway, Bruno was going to talk about that. I just wanted to give it notice and also recognize
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that actually, but that was a crazy thing that happened.
it was a crazy thing that happened. I was convinced. I was just like, this is what we're doing now. Great, good. Everyone was so upset. Bruno's more qualified to talk
people
about
didn't love it.
But in the absence of our Superior Spider-Man discussion, I didn't want us to be without comic book stuff, so I thought I would talk about who I feel like is sort of the most iconic comic book die and come back to life that there is, Ms. Jean Grey. Who is sort of historically a resurrected character, who's sort of like definitionally is like dealing with this problem over and over in the comics. They like can't figure out how to stop killing and bringing Jean Grey back to life. And I thought we could talk through some of them. So I have, what do I have here? I have 8 times that Jean Grey has died and come back to life. I thought we'd run through some.
Pretty good.
It's not bad.
It's a lot.
So the first one was when she died in X-Men 100 and came back as the Phoenix Force, which I think sort of everybody kind of knows about, right? That's pretty familiar to you guys. I mean, it was in the movies. It's in all the animated stuff.
I did see Dark Phoenix.
Deep space mission. Jean sacrifices herself to save the X-Men by piloting a crashing shuttle through solar radiation. Classic comic book stuff. You love to see.
Never want to be doing that.
Then instead of dying, you don't want to get X powers. She's turned into the Phoenix Force, which takes her form and places the real Jean in a healing cocoon beneath Jamaica Bay. Did want to touch on healing cocoons real quick. Of course, our guy Kal-El of Krypton, we thought he died. We thought Doomsday punched him to death, but really he went into the old Kryptonian healing coma.
Right. Classic Kryptonian healing coma.
Well, of course, the thing we all know about, one of the many powers of Superman, there is laser vision, there's ice breath, and there's the ability to slip into the
ability to cocoon oneself.
Healing coma, right? To go into a healing cocoon. Do you guys have any?
I find it interesting. Sorry, finish your thought about Soups.
No, you do yours before I do mine because I was moving to something else.
I just thought it was interesting that you say she became the Phoenix Force. Like, not to be pedantic, but doesn't she kind of like get taken over by the Phoenix Force? Like, I feel like it exists independent.
It was always in her. It just needed the gamma radiation to come out.
God, let's talk about
could be true.
this. I'm getting excited. Okay, before we move on, I want to talk about that very, very badly. But I wanted to ask you guys, do you have any like resurrection jargon like that? Like Kryptonian healing coma. I probably think about Kryptonian healing coma just as a concept once a month. No lie, probably once a month, my mind just goes to Kryptonian healing coma as a thing that somebody got paid to come up with as a way. Like they were hitting the books hard on how do we bring Superman back, and somebody said Kryptonian healing coma, and they went, "Yup, move it up the chain." So I was curious if there was any stuff like that just sticks in you guys' craws about like resurrection terminology or anything like that.
I don't have anything specific. I'm sure there's some good ones around like the Lazarus Pit. I feel like they're all from comics.
I mean, the Mac Daddy of them all, I think, is now going to always be somehow.
Yeah, Palpatine. I mean,
somehow Palpatine Returns. Somehow Palpatine Returned is pretty good.
Yeah, somehow, and the exasperation of Oscar Isaac when he says the line, he fought with JJ for all day and finally was just like, somehow Palpatine Returned.
Somehow Palpatine Returned. It's bad. It's genuinely some of the the laziest version of this thing we're talking about. Probably deserves due recognition for being just the absolute laziest. He's back. Just deal with it.
Right. He's like,
I'm here. It's me. Yeah.
You know, actually, who pulls it off much better is Triple X: The Return of Xander Cage.
I don't remember anything about that movie.
Well, okay. Here's what you need to know. And I'm walking thin line here because I'm on a personally instituted Vin hiatus.
A boycott.
Due to the sexual assault allegations against him.
The sexual allegations?
Yeah, he's been alleged to have had sex.
This guy fucks. No, we're not doing that because... So anyway, I'm going to try and talk you through this without indulging in the Vin of it. But in the first Triple X, Vin Diesel, of course, plays your best friend and mine, Xander Cage, who is a stunt-loving car thief who has beef with authority in all its forms.
Never heard of anything like this film before.
And he's employed by Samuel L. Jackson, who works for a shady government department, to depart as a part of the Triple X initiative.
As a part.
Which is going to require him to go into extreme dangerous
Extreme?
territories and use extreme methods to achieve high-level results. So,
Smart.
blah, 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 blah.
He dies?
He's a spy that likes motorcycles and stuff. They make the second movie. In the second movie, they have it be Ice Cube. It's just Ice Cube now.
What?
Ice Cube is now Xander Cage. And we're like in media
Just
res.
recasting.
No,
Is it
we're,
I
Man
don't
of
think
a
he's
different
Xander
race.
Cage. I think he's a
no,
different
he's not.
agent.
He's not Xander Cage. This is like what we want them to do with James Bond now, right? This is like he's Triple X.
No, that's not what I want them to do. But anyway,
It's a thing. But it's a thing people have talked about where like the Sean Connery and the Roger Moore are different guys, but they're both codenamed James Bond.
I know
right?
what you mean.
So yeah, no, he's codenamed Triple X, but he is not Xander Cage, and it is very
I
much
see.
reflected in the fact that like he's not really up for running around or like shooting, certainly not doing stunts. But in the chronology of this, they established Xander Cage is dead, and that's why they got Ice Cube. And this movie is very poorly received. Nobody really likes Triple X 2. It didn't do great. But there was sort of always a notion that Triple X 3 would be really exciting, and so in 2017 we finally got Triple X 3. The Return of Xander Cage, and they fully
In 2017?
yes,
Like 12 years later?
yes,
Mhm.
and they
Okay.
fully just yada yada over that this guy died 15 years ago off screen.
and they have both of them share the screen together.
Don't even
Well,
worry
that's
about it.
fun.
Don't even worry about it. It's fine.
I do remember that part.
Anyway, Jackson, the Phoenix Force is an extraterrestrial entity that uses psionic energy to find a host.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's my point. Jean Grey's not an extraterrestrial entity.
Right. Okay. So you're saying that she's like housing the Phoenix Force.
Sure.
I think that
Yeah.
my understanding is that the power dynamic is and I might be wrong about this. If I'm wrong, drop a comment. My understanding is that
Dropacom.
the Phoenix Force is so powerful that it's just like it owns the body now. Like
Sure.
Jean
Yeah.
has become the Phoenix.
Seems fair. Yeah, I guess in that sense it makes more sense. I just didn't think that was like the start of the Phoenix Force's existence.
Oh, well, that's definitely not the case. Yeah, it's been flying
Yeah.
around in space. This is it's a big problem. That's why the X-Men go to space, because they're trying to deal with it. And then it just like grabs Jean. They come back
But yeah,
to Earth.
Jean becomes a part of it for sure.
This is also important because later, this gets retconned later that she didn't die. But at the time, of course,
Which is the coolest kind of resurrection.
you know, which is when we find out that she's in the healing cocoon.
Wasn't that a Rick and Morty villain? It was a guy who could retcon anything about the story. So like things were always in a different way and he like changes his name several times.
It's very
Is that
good.
the thing on the train?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on with your Jean Grey story.
The Phoenix Force is different than the Dark Phoenix.
Oh, sorry, pardon me.
So when Jean comes back and is now, struggling with the cosmic power that she deals with and sort of the guilt that the Phoenix has, like she's getting these shared emotional things about the Phoenix having destroyed planets and stuff. She becomes the Dark Phoenix, and she just sort of sacrifices herself on the moon, is what she does, technically speaking.
Okay. And then does she just always heal and cocoon it up? Is
No,
that her signature move?
She's dead here for 6 years until in Fantastic Four number 286, it's revealed that Jean never died. She was in a healing cocoon.
So yeah, this is your answer.
This is all one thing though.
Sure.
Like this story from the first time she dies, when we think she's dead, then the Phoenix Force comes into her.
Uh-huh.
Then she comes back to life as the Dark Phoenix.
With you.
And then she's dead again. Then she goes into the healing cocoon.
I see.
But the first time, yeah, I think so. I read a lot of these to try and get these up.
I get you.
We
Shouldn't
should
keep track.
let me do a quick Google, just see if Jean Grey healing cocoon brings up anything. Because for some reason
Are you lying to me about the healing cocoon?
I feel like there might be a third Healing Cocoon installment.
I don't remember. I've only read the original Dark Phoenix. I don't remember it from that.
When does she fuck Cyclops in this?
I think they're on.
Often.
No, I think they're on right now, but it's always a thing. Yeah, I mean, I've got here a cited Wikipedia note from this issue of X-Men that I'm talking about that says, the Phoenix Force, the sum of all life in the universe, is moved by Jean's wish to save herself and her friends. It takes the form of a duplicate body to house Jean's psyche. The duplication is so exact that the Phoenix Force believes itself to be Jean Grey and places Jean's...
Oh, now this is even more interesting.
Places Jean's dying body into a healing cocoon. This cocoon is later described, this is better, as a phoenix egg, but we're going to keep saying healing cocoon.
I guess that thematically makes sense with the character.
The Phoenix Force, assuming Jean's identity, emerges wearing a new costume and adopts the codename Phoenix. Meanwhile, the cocoon containing Jean sinks to the bottom of the bay unnoticed. Phoenix continues her life as Jean, with the other X-Men joining them on other missions, and this goes up through the Dark Phoenix saga, when Phoenix becomes overwhelmed and corrupted by her first taste of evil and transforms into a force of total destruction called Dark Phoenix, inadvertently killing the inhabitants of a planetary system after consuming its star and jeopardizing the entire universe.
Blah, blah, blah.
Jean's personality manages to take control and commit suicide to ensure the safety of the universe.
Right.
That's called taking one for the team. Again.
How it goes.
That is maybe technically the most interesting form of resurrection we've discussed so far, is having your instantaneously being replaced with a clone so precise that it thinks that it's you. I feel like that's
clone that thinks it's you is good. I was thinking about it when I was falling asleep last night. Did either of you guys ever play Soma? The video game Soma?
No, exactly.
Yeah, Jack, give Deepak the rundown on Soma. Deepak, Soma is maybe the best clone it thinks it's you story of all time.
Well, yeah, I mean,
no disrespect to that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Soma's a video game where it's like you, at the very start of the game, you're getting your brain scanned because you have some weird brain disease. So you're getting some new cutting edge scan. And then right after the scan, you wake up in this very creepy underwater facility that's full of robots and seems super decrepit, like nobody's been here in dozens of years. And over time, you figure out that you're living in it's the future, and you exist here because your brain scan was so thorough and was taken so early that it became a public domain piece of software to test this type of brain scan on. So your consciousness ends up getting put in all of these different types of robots forever. It's a very strange little game, but it's super, it's creepy, but it's super fun.
So then
it's a very compelling story.
So then the gameplay mechanic is that multiple times throughout the story of the game, you have to plug yourself into this machine that will clone your intelligence. And there's a 50-50 chance that your current how would you describe this, Jack? Your current
so as you're playing the game, you flash towards wherever you're planting your brain into. That's sort of not really how it works. That is one possible experience, but he is still left alive back in the other body, and the guy who took the scan still went and lived his life after the scan happened. And spoilers. At the end of the game, the whole plot of the game is that you're trying to get your brain onto this very heaven-coded spaceship. And at the end, you manage to find the ship, and you go to plug your brain in to port it over there. But this time, you don't jump with it.
But it's
you are stuck on the bottom of the ocean. And you're
what console was this for?
I think you can get on anything now.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's the first time in the game that your sentience hasn't jumped to the new body.
Yeah, and you stick with him as he has this panic attack about how you have to live at the bottom of the ocean forever. It's good. A compelling little story. It's on Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Mac. Yeah, it's on everything.
Yeah, it's a really good version of Clone That Thinks It's You. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Sixth Day. It's like a Genesis reference.
Oh, I thought you were talking about The Last Action Hero.
No.
No.
In Sixth Day, again, this is hilarious that we're doing all these spoilers for like all the super old stuff. Spoilers for a 25-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger is running around thinking that he's been replaced by a clone, only to discover that he is the clone who has all the memories of the original self and thinks that he's the guy.
Also like Blade Runner, right?
Like Mickey
that
17,
sounds like more
perhaps?
explicit Blade Runner.
No, not like Mickey 17, really. Yeah, but okay, so Jack, that's interesting that you went there. That you think maybe
He doesn't really get resurrected, but
no, just what I mean to say is that this movie takes place like in the suburbs.
oh, that's funnier.
Yeah.
Not what I was picturing.
Right. That was an important thing that you clearly needed to get to. I mean, there's a lot of like vaguely future looking office spaces or whatever. No, but this movie aggressively takes place in the suburbs.
Sure.
Yeah. He's just a normal ass dude. Let me call out one last one just while we're on Clone That Thinks It's You. Did you guys ever watch the Spider-Man animated TV series from the 1900s?
Some episodes, probably not the whole thing.
Yeah, I've seen. Not in a while, but yeah.
There was a lengthy run on that series that I remember watching very clearly. I don't know if this was in first run. I don't remember exactly when the show originally aired and if I would have been seeing it on reruns or not. But there is a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 episodes of this show that I remember watching. I have this memory so clearly. I remember watching this show in real time, like week to week, Saturday mornings. And it was revealed that for the last 12 episodes, Mary Jane Watson had been a clone made by the Hydro
And then a fembot?
She's made out of water. But yeah, basically.
Similar.
By who?
Hydro Man.
Obviously.
I don't remember. Yeah, that tracks. Yeah, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah. He's a guy made out of water. He's a part of the Spider-Man, Mount Rushmore of guys made out of elements, right? We've got Hydro Man.
Yeah, we got him in Far From Home.
Sandman. We get
I don't fuck with me. I haven't seen all these Spider-Man. Is he in Far From Home?
Yeah, Far From Home, the whole thing is that there's like the elementals. So there's Water Guy in Venice, there's Molten Guy in Prague, and there's the Earthen Man and something else. But it turns out it's all just Mysterio playing tricks on people.
Sure, yeah, I thought it was Mysterio, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Riley
is frozen. No, he's back.
Yeah, sorry, I was just gone for a second. Yeah, Deepak put it perfectly.
I do not. Oh, there he is.
Oh.
No, now I got you.
No, yeah, Jack put that. And I have nothing to add. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that I can remember being very devastated at the reveal that Mary Jane Watson had been a clone made out of water, and that the real Mary Jane Watson had been sent into the multiverse.
You think you would have noticed?
Well, it was a really convincing clone.
Good water.
Very convincing blow-up doll, apparently.
Sexy water.
He found this out, guys. He found this out on his honeymoon. I will not have you disrespecting.
Oh no!
Like the emotional trauma that was happening to Peter Parker when he discovered that his wife had been kidnapped.
Peter Parker's gone through some shit, man.
So yeah, but this is also, I bring this up sort of in the pop culture zeitgeist to also say this is the first time, at least that I remember, there being a Spider-Man multiverse. That he had to go through a portal and deal with Madam Web and stuff to like get around to the multiverse to find and save Mary Jane, who had been kidnapped and turned into water to cover up her disappearance. Anyway, this has been a conversation about resurrections.
We did it.
Hey.
We took this bizarre topic and made it into an hour-long podcast.
Crazy.
Which was the
assignment. No one said we could do it.
And we got a lot of obscure.
None of them believed in us.
I didn't expect. When we started this, I hadn't even considered Xander Cage as a nominee. I thought I was going to talk about E.T.
Oh yeah, you did.
When does E.T. come back?
What are you talking about? He dies. He turns all gray.
He like dies. Yeah.
I don't
And
remember
the
that movie
FBI's
at
like
all.
probing him and stuff. Dude, you should watch E.T. It's good as shit.
I
Okay.
honestly don't think I have seen it all the way through since Zinger's film study class.
Go to my letterbox. I have it as his number 1 of all time. I think it is his best movie, full stop.
Spielberg's number 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
It rules.
I've had the 4K for years. I just haven't watched it.
This should be your son's first movie. Oh no, you already did Jungle Book.
Yeah, but apparently he can't see
Maybe more
properly
appropriate.
yet. So he's not.
That also, yeah, we're a little early on that one, I think. But
Yeah.
I like the enthusiasm.
I mean, I have to introduce him to his culture at some point.
Sure. Triple R.
Well,
This has been Nerdy Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. We want to remind you that if you're only listening to this show, you can head over to our YouTube account, youtube.com/nerdherefirst, or our website, nihf.com, where you can find video versions of these episodes, plus more great stuff on our website, nihf.com, like movie reviews. We're going to be talking Sinners this week, right? Deepak has seen.
Yeah.
Jack and I still have not. Bruno has. The four
Going
of
on
us.
Tuesday.
The 4 of us will be in your feed later this week reviewing Sinners. So make sure you catch that. Don't want to miss the video episode.
Last of Us.
We're doing Last of Us reviews right now. We just winded down our Daredevil review stuff. If you don't want to miss any of that, youtube.com/nerdherefirst. Click subscribe. Yeah. Thank you to everybody. Thanks to Wiki Rascals for our logo and artwork. Thank you to Purple Planet for the use of our theme song. Thank you to Bruno Meneses, who could not be here today because of Easter, but is still our fantastic
He still gets
producer and
thanks.
editor and deserves many thanks from us.
Pretty good.
We'll be back. We just said, you can't get rid of us. You can't shake us these days. We'll be back here. We'll be in your feeds at least twice more before hitting the news next week. But as always, don't forget to tune in next time to hear.